Okay, I can see. I think we're live.
Yes, we are going live. So I generally do a sound check. Yes, I can see myself. And if there is a sound
Okay,
problem, one
it
of these
just
guys
froze a
listening,
second. Hang on, I'm going to
let us know.
switch to. Excuse me for a second. I'm going to switch to. It just froze for a second. I'm just going to switch to mobile hotspot just in case it
Okay, no
so
worries.
it doesn't
While you
drop
do
out or
that,
something in the
I'm
middle.
just going to introduce this session. Yep. All right. Hi, guys. Oh, I can't hear you, Eden. You went mute. Eden, can you say a few words so I can hear you?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? All right, great.
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Hi guys, welcome to Optizen Thursdays, where we bring different discuss different topics in digital marketing and analytics. And those who are new to the session, we do this every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So convert that to your own time zone. We, like I said, we talk different topics in digital marketing and analytics. And those who are not registered for this session can go to academy.optizen.com to register for this session so that you can get a session replay link as well as register for the future session. And if somebody can please confirm that my audio is coming through fine on YouTube, that'll be great. Today, my guest is Eden Bidani. She is an expert copywriter, and she will be sharing her insights on using data to help, or the data that you're collecting on your customers to help you write effective copy. Effective copy can make or break whatever you're selling, whether it's your ad, landing page, email, whatever you're sending, it can make or break that. Bad copy does not get result. People often blame on product service, but it's the copy that gets people's attention and drive them through the conversion path. Cool. I just got that. Again, Z, I can't pronounce your name, but thank you for letting me know that audio quality is good. So without much delay, I'm going to let Eden talk about herself and give you an idea why you should listen to her and what she will be talking about today. During the session, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comment box, and I will ask Eden those questions as we go along. With that, Eden, thank you for coming on the channel here. It's a pleasure to have you. I've read so much about or so much content from you on LinkedIn, as well as came across your YouTube video where you were discussing copywriting, and also read an article. I think it was on Experimentation Nation. So it's wonderful to have you here. This is one of that this is the first time we are having somebody who will talk about copywriting, because most of these people are data-driven folks. I think they don't deal with copywriting as much, but they should be, because whatever data they are collecting, they should understand what copy drove those actions, or why user did something that they did. So with that, Eden, welcome to the show, and I'll hand over the mic to you.
All right, thank you, Anila. Thank you so much for having me here today. And it's great that you actually made that point that, the folks here today are mostly mostly marketers and data analysts, so they're very data focused. And the truth of the matter is, great copy is also data focused. It's just a lot of people don't perceive it to be. The best high converting copy uses voice of customer data. It looks at both qualitative and quantitative data. So it's using the data that you're already gathering on the customers and actually using that to actually help you write the copy. So you don't have to start from scratch. You're never starting from a blank page. You never have to think, wait, what should I actually write? Which ideas, which messages are actually going to help move the needle in the right direction? So there is actually a process to this, and this is not something I invented. This is the general conversion copywriting process. It's very different to other types of copywriting, like creative copywriting, which is what we tend to think of as like a fancy one-liner on a billboard as you're flying down the freeway, or it's or direct response, which is what a lot of direct response marketers do. So which is kind of copy you see in sales videos, you read in long form sales letters, sales pages, and things like that. So conversion copywriting really takes this, it takes the strong data-based approach. So it's not just about pushing, it's not like psychological hacks of pushing, we're trying to find the right buttons and the right emotional buttons to push. It's actually trying to distill the data down into it. So someone almost said to me the other day, it's like coding with words in a way. So you're looking at trying to find the right combinations of words, the right messages that speak to people, because these are the messages that they're already telling you in the data that you collect. So hang on just a second, we'll just get my slides ready. Just give me a second, bear with me, please. Okay, hang on just a second. So let's see. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you see this. Right. Hi,
Yes.
can you see it?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Perfect. 1 second. Okay, so, all right, let's get started. So again, just to take it back a little step, because we kind of jumped right into things. So really the secret to high converting copying, it's not about being salesy. You don't have to pretend to be salesy. It's not about using these psychological or emotional hacks. The core of all high converting copy, it's just about good communication. And actually that's what marketing is and everything is about as well. It's just forging this deep, genuine connection and using words to do so. So one of the mindset shifts I like to tell people, that's something that they need to adjust to when they think they have to write copy. So again, it's not this purely creative activity. You don't need to go on vacation for 2 weeks and try and get inspiration from something around, or it's not like Mad Men in the 50s and 60s, you know, all whiskey and pool tables. At the end of the day, with like we know with copywriting, we know we have products and services that we sell, but they're not a means to an end. They're not an end in itself. They're always a means to an end. There's always jobs to be done. There's always something the customer wants to achieve as an emotional, a physical, a lifestyle transformation as a result of using the products. So copy doesn't have to be, you're not trying to direct the sale. You're trying to show that connection between that before and after, that transformation, to show that you align, that the product or service that you're selling aligns with the transformation that they're looking to achieve. Again, and so that's also flowing into the third mindset shift. Again, the product or service that you're selling is the means to an end, and it's never the end in itself. Even a Louis Vuitton handbag, it's not. And people don't buy luxury handbags for the sake of buying a luxury handbag. It's a status symbol. It gets them attention, and all kinds of emotional attachments and psychological attachments and things like that as well. So again, specifically conversion, I'll define the term really. It's not regular copywriting. It's not just to make things sound nice, because we're not in the business of making things sound nice. We're actually in the business of trying to get a certain message across to people. So conversion copywriting is getting a message across that encourages an action. So whether that action is actually a click, it's to download something, to fill out a form, or to actually buy now. And the conversion copywriting helps position the pains, problems, and goals of the target audience with the product or service that you're using as a solution. And then what it does, the data aspect that comes into it, is you're actually using your audience's own words and language to do so, which is the coolest part, I think, of copywriting. It's different to brand copywriting, which is about vision and purpose and about your why. It's very different to creative copywriting, again, which is just about capturing attention. It's different to direct response copywriting, which is about driving actions, but it's in a very direct kind of salesy tone. And so conversion copywriting, again, communicating your core value to your customers about how you solve their problems, and using their own words to show that you get them and that you're here to solve their problems. All right, so now we're actually going to dig right down already into sorry, does someone have a question?
No, I'm just looking around here to that screen so that I can see if there are any questions. Any questions from audience? No questions yet. I did not know the different types of copy, here, copies that you have mentioned. I thought copy is just copy. So thank you. This is great. There are different types of copies to get people's attention, to convert them, etc., or the brand awareness. So yep, it's very insightful for me. I'm sure this audience, like I said, it's all data driven. We deal with data all day long, not so much on this process of either copywriting or branding, etc.
Yeah, and so I'd like to as well take that a little bit deeper for a second. For example, I started out actually in anthropology and sociology, and so what they actually do as well, it's studying human communication. It's studying what makes us human on a deeper level. It studies how the culture, how the society, how language, money systems, family, all these kinship, all these kinds of things actually shape the way a person sees the world and interacts with the world and communicates with other people around them and communicates these messages. And what anthropologists used to do is something that's called ethnography. And they still do it today. Ethnography is a process of actually immersing themselves in the audience or in the group of people that they want to study deeply. And how they do it is they speak the same language. They used to dress the same, used to eat the same food. They even used to live with them for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, years even at a time. And they would, at the same time, while they were fully immersed in their sort of target audience, they would actually gather data at the same time. So they used the same language, they used the same terms and tools that the people they were studying used to communicate in order to gain a deeper understanding, in order to share common messages across. And so I find that really really resonates with the conversion copywriting process as well, because you're using the same, you want people to see themselves on the page. You want the people to see themselves when they read your copy. You want them to connect with it on a deep level so they understand the message that you're trying to share. And so the way to do that is by using the words and phrases that they're using on a regular basis. And this is what you can find in the data.
Cool.
So part of the conversion copywriting process, I like to say, it's like pretend you're an anthropologist. So so even though the conversion copywriting process happens in 3 phases, there's research and discovery, writing and editing, and validation and testing. Yay, testing.
Testing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, these guys are familiar with testing.
Exactly. But what's really fascinating is in the first part is research and discovery. For strong conversion copy, for copywriting to be highly effective, 75 to 80% of the work is collecting the data and listening and analyzing the data. And when I say data, again, it's the qualitative and quantitative data. It's the words that people are using, the phrases and language that how they're expressing their jobs to be done, how they're expressing their pains and problems, how they're expressing their transformation. If we do this part, then writing the copy is really easy. Don't do it well, writing copy is hard. You're facing the blank page and the blinking cursor, and it's really difficult. But to do this part right, you get to pretend like you're an anthropologist. You want to put aside, one of the hardest things we find as marketers is that we want to try and put aside the fact that we have an agenda. We have an agenda. We want to sell a product. We want to lift a conversion rate. We want to achieve something with this. The best data and the best research and the best data I find comes when you actually put that aside. You try and put that aside as much as possible and just listen. Try to listen, observe, and record. So what that is, just like anthropologists used to do, so you're going to look at doing user tests on existing pages. Look at running the heat maps, what kind of information you can get, where they're eye tracking, anything like that, what you can see, where their eyes are drawn to on the page, which phrases they seem to linger over most. You're looking as well at incredibly valuable, and running customer surveys as well, not just NPS, how did you like our product, but actually asking them questions like, so how would you describe this product experience in 3 words, things like that. And you actually find that they give you qualitative answers which you can then quantify afterwards. and actually rank them and see which messages you want to use first and which messages you want to test and when.
Yeah.
So as part of, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say
Sorry.
that reminds me of again, being data driven on that side. That reminds me of an analysis that we did on email copy. In particular, I was not a copywriter. I don't write copy, but was looking at those words like what kind of words or action items or non-action words are driving people to take action, which links they are clicking on, and etc. So that's I think listening to you, it tells me like, hey, there was, what we were doing was kind of in the right direction there, because that's what we were trying to figure out, not at that deep level, like how can we write the copy, but what kind of words you should use in your links and image captions, etc.
Yeah, and that's also deeply connected to this. So the beauty of the research process when it comes to copywriting is that you come away with you're doing the whole ideation and brainstorming process as well at the same time. Only you don't have to guess at what might work. You don't have to say, let's make a hypothesis. You actually have this huge wealth of data that you can say, well, we tried this, so let's try this, and then let's try this, and let's try this. So you actually you have thousands and thousands of ideas that you can just keep on, experimenting with. And as you can constantly refresh the data as new customers come in and come through, you can keep updating, sending surveys, speaking with customers to refresh the data all the time. But at the same time, again, it's just really powerful. We find it's really powerful for the people reading the copy. And I'll share some examples as well at the end where we have taken really that the copy is conversion focused, like these are words that someone has spoken or has actually written down, and someone has actually translated that into copy on the page. So in terms of research as well, when we're starting out, we want to find out where they are. So where they are geographically, where they like to hang out online and offline, what platforms they like to use, what types of media they consume on a regular basis. And so once you've found where they like to hang to where they like to, the point where you get to go undercover. So you start thinking like that anthropologist, like we said. So you're looking to observe, learn, and record, not judge, not make assumptions. We like, it's difficult. We like to say, oh no, we all have a personal biases. We like to think that maybe a different colored CTA button might perform better, or it might be a specific word or as well. Helps if you just look at observing and listening and learning from what people are saying. Then it helps you make these unbiased decisions towards what kind of messages to use in the copy. So as you start collecting this data, as you start listening to you start speaking with customers, recording them, turning them the interviews into transcripts, you can actually see the words, phrases, and sentences start to float to the top as they describe their experiences. Mm-hmm. So what kind of things? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there is a comment here from Zwikombo Rio. I will try not to say your name again. You joined last time as well, and I couldn't pronounce your name properly. So I'm going to call you Z. This session came at the right time. I just got a new job as a social media marketing specialist. And apart from focusing on data analysis, I have to write content and add copies. I'm a digital analyst by specialty. So he's just starting a new job, and I think this is very timely. So it's enjoying this session. Other thing I was going to make a comment here is I'm having some audio connectivity issues. Not sure if you guys are listening are having any issues there or not. So I might ask you to repeat some of the stuff if audience is having some issues there as well. But yeah. Let's keep going. I'll wait for the comment from them.
I think it's all right. Is it breaking?
Now it's fine.
Is it all right?
Yeah.
It's okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Great. Okay. So, and that's the beauty of it. So if someone in social media management or is in a position where it might be database, but then they're asked to write copy for whatever reason, for an email, for a social media campaign, for some ads, for a landing page, for a website page. The benefit here as well of doing the research is that, and by speaking with customers, you get to hear the stories that they're telling you. So instead of you telling them the story first, listen to the stories that customers want to tell you, and then use those stories as the basis for what you will do with your marketing moving forward. So it's really, so you're just echoing the same sentiments that your customers are already, your ideal target audience is already expressing to you. And so that way, when they come across your content, whether it's, paid or whether it's organic, when they start to come across the copy for the first time, they feel a connection. They feel that it's talking about something, or it's talking about a topic or a subject, in a way, in something that's familiar to them and that's already interesting to them. So that actually draws them in slowly, actually engages them on a deeper level. It's without feeling like it's trying to sell them something, where it's trying to get them to take an action, because they find genuine interest in what you're writing in the copy. They find genuine interest in the story that's being told, so they naturally gravitate towards converting as well. So when you're conducting customer interviews, or when you're collecting data from surveys, and there's specific questions that you can ask following jobs to be done framework and things like that, to actually try and get the right kind of answers that you're looking for. We want to find out what kind of problems they've been struggling with. If they've heard of other products or services that solve these problems, if they've tried them, what their experience was. How did it solve it? Did it help or not? And also a great place is, in addition to conducting custom interviews, in addition to using things like user testing and heat maps, another great one is to also check out competitor reviews as well. So just to see what kind of comment, if you're approaching the same target audience, then you can see what kind of comments they're leaving on competitor sites, or what kind of feedback they have there, and social media in general engages with these other companies or with these other brands. And then literally what we're doing is copying and pasting these core messages and organizing them in a spreadsheet, and we'll get to that in just a second. Okay. Oh, sorry, I already talked about this bit. So about conducting surveys and customer interviews. So you can use, there's a lot of different tools that can help you do that really easily. And once we've collected all this data, we can plug it into a spreadsheet, and I'll just pull that up. Actually, just a second. Let's see. Spreadsheet. Give me the Google spreadsheet.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. So on one hand, it's great to collect and collect and collect and collect and collect all this data, but then where do you put it? Where do you actually start to find what messages you should be using? How can you organize it? It's totally fine to chop sentences up, chop paragraphs up, and take that out of the original context, because you're actually going to organize that into a spreadsheet. And so you actually if you can use a Notion table, or any, any kind of organizational tool that can help you look at this data. But what you're looking for is specific sentences for relating to all the different types, for how the customers describe themselves, what kind of words, phrases, even the full sentences, how they describe themselves, how they describe their pains and problems. Again, sorry. What the products and things that they've tried to solve this problem before, what the outcome was, their experience, how they found about your product initially, what they liked about it, what they didn't like, and the benefits or transformations that they've seen as a result. And so once you start plugging these phrases, so if you come across that question in the transcript from an interview, great, you can actually plug that information directly into the spreadsheet. And as you start to populate it, you start to emerge. Now, there's a few things you can also do. You can take out phrases, and you can pull them out into a word cloud and as well see which words and things and phrases actually pop out directly as well. You see which ones are being used more frequently to help you get an idea of which emotive words and things that you can try using in the copy. Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Get back.
So where does this, as you're clicking
as
through?
well. Oh, if Canva's going to work now.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay.
So sorry.
Yeah, I was asking a question here. So what
I can hear you. Is it all right, or did it?
Yeah.
Sorry, it cut off. I'm sorry.
No worries. So here you're talking about looking at customer research when you look at the, maybe it's the interviews, maybe it is the competitive sites, right? Do you also take into customer service transcripts as well to kind of figure that out, or an email responses, etc.?
Yeah, I find customer surveys are usually really good for that, and you don't even need to ask a lot of questions, but even 3 or 4 really highly targeted questions can be enough to gather the information that you need, because in general you're looking for the qualitative. On the one hand, it's like we're looking for the qualitative data, but then we take that and we quantify that.
Yeah. I think there is a bit of delay here. What I was asking is also, so I think I got, which is like wherever we can get the customer's voice, right? Hear them, whether it's the surveys, whether it's the phone transcripts when they call our customer service desk, or email responses, all those, you basically try to find out how can you connect with those customers? How can you think like them, right? Or be like them? Cool.
Yes.
Good. I think there is a bit of delay. Now you're frozen here, but I'm not sure if audience is having that issue. I can't, your screen is frozen. I can't hear you, and the screen is frozen. Those who are listening, can you comment and see if you can still continue to see the audio and video? Okay, you're back. I can't hear you. No audio.
Yeah, you're on mute is the catchphrase of 2020. My apologies, my internet just dropped out, so I'm sorry about
No worries. Now we're back. All right, cool.
Okay, fantastic. If your last sentence, please correct me if we already moved on from it. You were saying that you're just looking to get as close to the customer as you possibly can. You want to see how they're expressing themselves. The more you learn how they naturally express themselves with the natural semantics and the language that they use, the easier it's going to be for you to write copy that's actually going to speak to them. And so you're actually literally going to copy. You're going to cut and paste, and we're going to copy these words and phrases and use them to help us write high converting copy.
Cool.
So if I'll share the screen again. Here we go. Go back to it. Okay, perfect. Can you see? Sorry, can we see the presentation?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So once we started populating the spreadsheet with these different sentences and phrases that customers have told us relating to the pain, relating to the transformation, you will, even before you actually pull that out into a word cloud or you pull it into any other kind of format, you will actually be able to see the patterns popping off the page. You'll see what underlying messages that they're communicating. And it's these underlying messages that you're going to use to test. We're going to see which ones resonate deeply with them. So again, you could say it's like crowdsourcing your copywriting, getting your customers to write for you. So once we've actually collected all this wonderful data, that's when we're actually going to plug it into copywriting frameworks. Now, copywriting frameworks have been around for a long, long time. Copy is something that can be done creatively, kind of off the cuff. But on the other hand, the frameworks help take the guesswork of how to piece all these pieces, how to piece all the data together in a flow that makes sense logically for the customers, as well as it does in terms of the messaging or in the story format. So, for example, I know a lot of marketers might be familiar as well with PASS and ADA, problem, agitation, solution. Attention, interest, desire, and action. There's hundreds of copywriting formulas. I've just included a link. I'll share the slides as well with you after this, but there's a great Copy Hackers article which summarizes probably the top copywriting formulas that are around. So this is where you start to see that the copywriting is really taking a data-based approach, and it's not based on guesswork. So we have our spreadsheet with the data, what people say about their problems, how they're expressing their problems, how they're expressing the pain of that problem, and how they found the solution. And you take your Google Doc, or you need to start creating your landing page, and you actually just go into the spreadsheet, copy that line, stick it in the problem section, copy the line, stick it in the agitation section, copy that, stick it in the solution section, and then start piecing that together to help you tell the story that you need to tell on the page. So again, so instead of writing copy being this wholly creative activity, it's now you're just piecing together the pieces of a puzzle instead of having to paint something entirely from scratch. Again, so the only thing, sorry, one second. Yeah, so again, there's also the importance of writing copy in context. So copy as well, it's not just about what words to use, because at the end of the day, the copy doesn't live on a Google Doc forever. It only lives in the context of the other elements for the user experience. So one good way to help you write copy, to help you piece these pieces of the puzzle together in a format that's going to be reading really, not only going to become high converting, but that's going to tell a compelling, that's going to share those compelling messages, is by using page or website templates or ad mockup tools and things like that, so you can actually see the copy come to life. And when you actually write it with the final context in mind, it can also help you shape the copywriting. You know how long a paragraph needs to be, or if it's going to be on a website, you want to help break up so there's not huge chunks of text throughout the page that are hard to read, so the cognitive load isn't so heavy. You want to, or if it's in an ad, you want to test using emojis or bullet points and things to help break up again the copy, so that it's easy if someone's viewing it on mobile or viewing it on desktop. And again, one of the other things when you start writing, we start piecing the pieces of the copy together, again, and using the copywriting framework, things start to take shape. So you can, by having a wireframe to help guide you, or so there's two ways to do it. One, you can look at starting with a basic wireframe to help you guide the flow of the copy, and there's one way you can also create the wireframes from scratch, which is what I usually do. So I usually start with the copy. As I'm writing the copy, I create a wireframe that should show how the copy should flow on the final page. And then I actually go and then I actually continue writing it within the wireframe. And then that actually makes it much easier, because then then it's much closer to the final version of what needs to be on the page, so that the designer, the developer, can just pretty much take it, make it look pretty, and ship it out very quickly. And so some great website mockup tools and landing page mockup tools. There are great ad mockup generators and all kinds of things out there. So when you want to even test for yourself before you hand off copy to get design developed and to go for testing, you can actually just experiment with the different messages that you've seen as well, and see what you want to actually test, and come up with the different hypotheses for testing. So you're pulling the messages out. You can from the, pull them out from the spreadsheet, pulling them out from the Google Doc, and actually putting them now in the mock-up tools and actually seeing how it fits together, because you want to understand as well how the end messages will be seen by the audience as well. Okay, and the last part, everyone's favorite, validation and testing. Again, we know we're not right 100% of the time, and that's the beauty of it. But the beauty of writing copy this way is that you have a very strong hypothesis of what's actually going to work, because you're already starting from the base point that you're starting is much closer to what the audience already wants to hear from you, and what kind of messages they want to see in the copy. So instead of guessing, no one likes to guess. Instead of randomly guessing or randomly generating ideas, we are starting off with a very, very, very strong approach, and most of the time it converts very well out of the gate. And so then it's just a matter of comparing the test results and then keeping on iterating and keeping on testing, because now you have this amazing spreadsheet filled with all these ideas. So if you put, for example, the most commonly felt pain that was shared between all these customers that you interviewed, you put the most commonly shared pain in the first in a long list of bullet points, and then you put the second one in the number 2, second one number 3. You can actually look at rotating those around and seeing if it might be a commonly shared pain, but maybe it's not something that they're aware they might be feeling of. You might want to switch that with a different pain, or you might want to switch that with something, or you might want to switch it from pass to ADA and change the slight flow of the copy there to see how that converts, compared to using the same messages but just laid out in a different format. So again, it's like I worked with performance marketers, so it's like you take the copy but you chop it. You can keep chopping and chopping and slicing and dicing into thousands of different combinations. Okay.
So how much, and this is one of the things, right, for the testing, we always talk about is the number of users you need to get statistically validated results. Are we applying the same concept here for copy? Because eventually you want to drive them to do something, and you need to make sure, hey, it's not like 5 people clicked here and 3 people clicked this one, so 5 is good, right? You use the same process, correct?
Yeah, so we're trying to look at trying to get statistical significance wherever we can. The more validate, the more we can get to statistical significance, the better. It's exactly the same. But having this process in place, we usually find it helps. So again, we're not guessing. You're not just putting an idea out there in the wild and thinking, let's try it. We're actually taking this approach where it's going to bring you much closer to having a really clear version what is most likely to convert. And what again, you can also, before you jump right into, so validation and testing, so it's not just presenting it, getting it out there and starting experimenting with it. There are also ways you can test the copy before you actually get it out, before you actually make it live. So there's things like copy testing, which is now CXL, which is now Winter by CXL agency. There's usertesting.com. There's all kinds, there are ways that you can actually get that user feedback just quickly on the copy to see if there's anything maybe left over that might skew the results, and actually make those tiny tweaks before then you go and launch it and really start pushing hard.
So that's a user panel, right? So people who are participating and saying, we'll validate this copy. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So just to try and just to get an idea of, it's just to really help you get an idea of if you are in the right direction or if there is something that might be confusing to them. And so trying to eliminate that before you actually put it out there. Before you release it into the wild. Okay, and I just want to show quick. So we've talked and I just wanted to actually put this into perspective, to actually show a couple of examples where you can see how people have taken. You can see that that it is voice of customer data that they have taken here and they have spliced together in in copy for these pages. So for example, BaseCamp. Now BaseCamp is one example that everyone really likes to highlight all the time, especially copywriters especially. So you can see right here in the subheading before BaseCamp and after BaseCamp. So it's really talking in an extremely conversational tone. It's describing that there's pains and problems that they're suffering with before and the transformation afterwards. And so BaseCamp is that crucible, it's that conduit, it's that means to an end to help them get from point A to point B. And so, you're wondering how you'll transition your team to remote work. People are stressed, work feels scattered, projects are slipping, and it's tough to see and manage everything. And then after BaseCamp, so you'll be feeling like, hey, we got this directly. That's a direct quote. You can see that's a direct quote from someone. Everything will be organized in one place. Your team will be working together. You'll be on top of things and calm will set in. So you can see how they've actually taken, you can feel it already that they've taken voice of customer data and they've actually applied this right here on their homepage. And BaseCamp is famous for doing this with all of their pages. They have a strong customer-led approach with their copy. Another example here with Aris, you don't have to be an SEO pro to rank higher and get more traffic. So it's not become an SEO expert. It's not find the right keywords. It's not just the clear message. This is actually speaking to a deep desire that people coming to this page are looking to fulfill. They want to be an SEO pro, or they need to be an SEO pro because they have a job that they need to do. And so this is actually showing you don't have to be an SEO pro. There is a tool that you can use that will help you achieve that same result without having to do that. So it's just helping them connect the dots there as well.
Yep.
This one I like as well by SavvyCal. It's a competitor to Calendly at the moment. So one of the interesting things, and I posted about this a while as well on LinkedIn, and the founder actually chimed in. This was one of the things was sending scheduling links. So in the user feedback, some people were saying that it feels weird because it puts the burden on the recipient to have to check their calendar, check back and forth. Again, I'm not saying Calendly. I use Calendly myself, so I'm not saying anything bad about it. But it's that process, it's that back and forth process that sometimes feels socially awkward, even if it's kind of a given that it's a Calendly link. So this touches on that problem immediately. It actually positions itself like, we know that's awkward. We know that's something that people are struggling with. This is how we solve it. So it's immediately positioning the solution, positioning its product as the solution for that pain or problem immediately that they're solving. And it's using real words. It doesn't say, sending us a scheduling link feels awkward or feels socially awkward. It says shouldn't feel weird. Weird is something that we'd use in everyday language. It's extremely conversational. So you can see that this is where they've taken this information directly from customer data.
Yeah, I'm sold on that. I'm gonna try this one because I definitely feel when people say, "Hey, here is my Calendly link. Go and find time." I'm like, "You want me to find time, and you're trying to sell me something?"
Yeah. So even if it's a given, and even if people understand that that's an element of it, and that there might be some awkwardness to it, they've actually taken that chance and they've positioned themselves against it using that feedback that they got from voice of customer, that voice of customer data to drive that decision for that headline. And as well, the Effective Experiments recently redid their website. And so one of the things they found in their own customer data is that everyone describing what they were struggling with, it was chaos. Experimentation systems, everything were all over the place, scattered. These people were using 7 different, multiple different types of tools, one for brainstorming, one to start preparing reports, one to actually present reports, one to do this, one to do that, one to do that. And everyone was using different tools. Everyone using different systems. It was just chaos. So even though we're running experimentation programs, it's just the actual how it all happened behind the scenes was absolute chaos. And so they actually took that word and showed that we understand that this is chaos and this is actually how we're solving it. So immediately actually using the same words that their customers had to actually go ahead with it, to actually to show them the end result. Sorry.
Yeah.
And this is another one. This is I helped optimize this landing page for a friend of mine. This is for the Conscious Business Institute, and so they had this is for a course. So they came with the idea that we can say, sign up for this course. Great, that's a very clear headline. That's a great idea. At the same time, though, it wasn't really communicating the deep why of why should anyone stay on this page, why should anyone keep reading, why is this course different from millions of other courses out there. So what we did, because their audience is mid-career or late career kind of high-level professionals, we actually took a testimonial from the highest kind of level professional that they had in their testimonials, a VP from Intel, and actually directly used their testimonial as the headline here. So instead of join us for this program, it's join us for the most life-changing experience of your adult life, as described by a VP of Intel. So actually using that, so not only is that aligning with what, the logic behind using this as well, because this was in alignment with what people are looking to achieve as a result of the program. So they're looking to achieve this life change. At the same time, they need to have some kind of social proof to prove why this course and not any of the other MBAs or professional development courses out there. The fact that this was actually something said by a VP of Intel makes that not only believable, because it's not the company talking about itself, it's a customer talking about the company, but it also makes it that much more powerful for anyone reading the page.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all the examples I have.
Cool. Yeah, these are good examples. My brain was kind of going as you were going through these examples. I'm going to go replay the video to look for those examples, because we do sell courses on Optizent Academy. So one is using customer testimonial, right? So we have all sorts of digital analytics courses, just not Google Analytics, but you mentioned heat mapping or the click mapping tools, those kind of courses as well. So, but like looking at the landing page copy, I'm like, okay, we're missing the mark here. So we just need to get that done. So this is actually very wonderful. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, that's a well, look, and again, copywriting is not a skill that comes to everybody. It feels like it's words, it's communication, it's esoteric kind of concepts. But the best kind of copy is actually just it's actually data driven. So it actually has this approach. It's grounded in that research. You're pulling out those ideas and seeing what kind of strong messages you want to test, and then actually apply them to the page. So you don't have to guess from scratch. When you do it from scratch, it's difficult. As a copywriter, it's difficult. The curse of the blank page is something that's very well known among writers.
Cool. Any question from audience? Audience has been quiet. Just a comment that came up about social media, but any other questions for Eden? I'm going to give them few minutes or few seconds, because there is a delay between when we talk and when they hear. So there's a bit of delay here. And if there are no questions, then I'll monitor the questions. If they come up, then I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to be sending this out. So if you have already registered on Optizent Academy, you will get a link to this video. And also you will get notifications about our future sessions. But thank you, Eden. This was wonderful. For me, for audience, I'm sure audience, again, I'm not getting questions, but I'm sure they are chewing this information, because this is new for us, right? We are so used to collecting the data. And some of us actually go and do experimentation. Not everybody's involved in experimentation. A lot of them are. But we don't think about hey, how to position this copy. We're just saying, can we try this? Use in your course. One thing I was looking at is apply now was the call out on the button.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have enroll now, right? Enroll or subscribe or sign up, right? Apply now never occurred to me. But when I was reading that, I'm like, that make actually sense, because you're talking here, quote from VP and saying apply now. That means, hey, I need to be involved in this process rather than just enrolled in something. So
Yeah.
I think those are the kind of things, but I'm not a copywriter, so I can't make that. Again, it's not just, you mentioned, it's not just a bunch of words, but when we are testing now, when the copy comes to us and we are testing, we can actually start to pay attention to those things.
It would be really interesting to see what kind of patterns you see come out if you take the customer testimonials that you have, actually put them all together and actually see which messages
Words,
come
yeah.
out, which word messages and words actually kind of pop out on the page. And apply now. The reason why we chose specifically apply now, because it was a specific cohort, and so there's a live component to it as well, and there is an application process that takes them about 10 minutes to apply to actually get into it. So it made sense to as well make it apply now. One thing you can look to test is a clear call to action, the value. So the apply now, that's the action that they need to take. When they clicking on the button is the action that they're going to take. You can also look at testing that against a value added call to action. So it's like learn X now, or start learning X now, or get access to the course now, or start learning now, or something like that, instead of enroll now. Again, depending on what the
Context is.
What the context is of
Yeah.
what's happening on the other side of the page.
Yeah, because we have online courses, and we have a program which starts at a specific date, become a digital analyst.
Mm-hmm.
That's a program. It's a 10 to 12 week program, depending on how much we cover. We always set aside 12 weeks, but the apply now kind of makes sense in that, because you're applying to this program to become a digital analyst. It's not you're enrolling in something online and just doing it at your own time. So yeah, those things resonated with me. So I'm definitely going to watch this and think about, and maybe reach out to you and talk more about that.
Okay, no problem. I mean, I'll as well send you the slides again after this. You can as well share with listeners if you like.
Okay, I've got a few questions here.
Yes.
Okay, Matt Valley, what are the different forms of copy? Do I have to learn how to write long form versus short form?
Good question. Thanks, Matt, for the question. No, you don't necessarily have to learn to write long form or short form copy. It's the length of copy that you use is really determined by by a couple of different factors. It's how complex the message is that you want to share, and how kind of what stage of awareness the audience is in. So if the audience, for example, is in a very high stage, they're very aware, most aware with high intent, you don't need to use a lot of copy to explain why they should buy this product, because they were already at a stage where they're convinced they're convinced, so they're that close already to buying. So they're not going to need a lot of copy to help move them from the stage they are now to help them take the action or make the purchase. For example, but someone who's at the top of the funnel, who's unaware, doesn't really know who you are, doesn't know what the product is, doesn't know that they have a pain or problem, doesn't know that there's this solution that they can that you're selling, or that the service that you're selling that actually solves that, you're going to need to explain that, and that's where long copy comes in. So that's why, for example, when you see things like things that are selling to cold traffic. So if it's a video sales letter, if it's a long form sales page, it's usually because people arriving on the page are completely cold. So they're unaware, no awareness that maybe it's the first time they clicked on an ad, the first time they even heard about this product or service, and it actually takes them through that entire. They need a lot of copy to actually help them move from one stage of awareness to the next, until they get to a point where they're already most aware with high intent, and that's where the CTA and the offer to buy now, sign up, download, etc. is there. So it does depend on, so it depends on really the stage of awareness of the audience, kind of their level of sophistication, how much they know about the product, and again, what the complexity of the message. If it's a really complicated product, it doesn't mean you need to talk about it a lot, but you need to choose the words carefully to make sure that, to make sure that nothing is lost in context. There's a tendency for people to like short copy because there's people don't read online, but the truth is people do read. People will binge watch 14 episodes of a Netflix show in one go. People will watch all three Lord of the Rings movies in one day. People will read a 10,000 word blog post in an afternoon, or they will read an entire book in an afternoon. It's more as if you can hold their attention if they're interested enough, and if you can hold their attention for that period of time. So people have a tendency to go to short copy. It really depends again on the context. It's more related to their stage of awareness than anything else.
Cool. Yeah, one thing I would say is I am not a long form copy reader. I can't read. It can't hold any copy, cannot hold my attention for long, right? But I am not my customer. That's how I look at it, right? So it's the customer. I have to understand them and how they want to consume this thing or how they interact. So that's all about testing, long form, short form, test it out, see which one works for your audience, right?
Yeah.
So got a few more questions or comments here and questions.
Absolutely.
Vanessa says, no question. It was very interesting and I look forward to getting the presentation afterwards.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes. And Vanessa, if you are enrolled on Academy, if you signed up there, then you will academy.optizen.com, then you will get a link. If not, I will also put a comment here with the link to that presentation. So you can download it from there. Z says, this is new territory for me. So I was busy noting a few things down in ink, right? Great. He's getting started in social media marketing and will be doing this for a living or learning how to write copy. Matt again says, do you use noise analysis to do a quick quantitative analysis and get an idea about what words to use in the copy?
Sorry, what was the question? It was voice analysis?
Voice, I think, is maybe meant. Noise is the word Matt used, but it seems like it might be voice. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, voice analysis maybe.
Okay, so there are a few tools that some people do use, like there are voice analyzing or sales call analyzing tools and things like that, like Gong and things like that. You can actually, again, it will help direct you to what kind of messages, or even Loop, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called, that actually help decipher the actual video, audio recordings and things like that, and see what people are saying. I found the shortest way though to get to that without missing out on the context of some of those rich phrases that we found is usually by just going the long. Sometimes the long way is the short way, by actually getting transcripts of customer interviews that have been conducted and actually having them, and actually going through them, reading them yourself, seeing how people there, and taking the information out from there.
Okay, I had to mute, my phone started ringing here, but a few other questions here. How important is those power words versus not to use words? For example, that's this advice to not use words like amazing or awesome versus perfect. How important are those power words versus not to use those?
That's great. I would counteract that by saying, if your audience is using them, why not try using them? I know that there's all kinds of rules that say, do this, don't do that. I try to defer. Again, this goes back to kind of the take on anthropology, trying to put that agenda aside, put what other people are telling you to do. Yes, there are best practices, but then again, best practices are kind of the higher level generalized. What works for your audience? What kind of words are used? Like, again, when the SavvyCal explained in the SavvyCal headline, weird Is that a phrase? Is that a word that someone would normally use? They might think awkward, they might think difficult, they might think something else. But weird is kind of that contextual word. It's like awesome, amazing, these superfluous words. So if your audience is using it, if it's something that you find, why not try it? Because if that's how they're communicating to you, or if that's how they're communicating amongst themselves, that's going to be a word that's familiar to them. So it's not like you're saying this is the best product in the entire world. This is an amazing product. If you can use that, if your customer is using it. It's the same with corporate jargon. If your customer base is made up of, C-levels, they're used to using corporate jargon in everyday life, even though we have a tendency to say don't use jargon in copywriting because it's all these buzzwords really distract people and make them not focus on the message. You can leave some of them in if that's how your audience naturally communicates with each other. Because if you take them all out, it won't feel familiar to them. It might not feel as high level. It's not speaking to them on the same level. So by making it too conversational, you can miss out on the context. And if you take out kind of those words, amazing, fantastic, brilliant, that might not have any real substance, but if the audience is using them and they use it in their everyday life, then try leaving them in and see how it works. Power words are great to use where possible. We are trying to help them take an action. We're trying to encourage, guide the user or guide the reader to try and take an action. So, power words. We're looking to use active tense and not passive tense. So get, apply, enroll, sign up, download, all these kind of action, these really active words to try and encourage them to take the action that we want them to take.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, you mentioned something about those are best practices or whatever. Something that works for somebody else might not work for you, and something that doesn't work for them might work for you. So that's why testing is there, right? Connect with the audience and test it out, see what works. Yeah. Cool. Another question from Matt, do you have a good resource on copywriting for e-commerce? It tends to be direct response, but I wonder if there is another way.
I would highly recommend everything I learned about conversion copywriting. I learned myself from Copy Hackers. Again, they have a lot of both free and paid resources on copywriting, and a lot as well about e-commerce. You can certainly apply the conversion copywriting process to e-commerce as well. It doesn't have to be direct response. You're right. A lot of it is direct response. A lot of it is trying to push people to through the funnel and to increase average order value and increase lifetime value and things like that. But adopting the conversion focused copy approach, it can help. It helps you enrich the copy beyond just here's this great product, buy it. Here's this great product, buy it. So it really helps enrich the conversation and tell a deeper story, and helps connect customers more deeply with the brand beyond just the product that you're selling.
Cool. All right, I'm reading these in the order as they're coming up. Vanessa says, thank you. Vanessa had a comment earlier. And then Matt, another comment. It was really an interesting show. Thank you very much. Great channel, small audience, but amazing content. Keep it up. Yes. Thank you, Matt. Yes. Small audience, help us grow the audience. That's why we're putting these amazing, so that we can keep putting this amazing content. And thank you, Eden. This was wonderful. Audience enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And there is a lot to learn here. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to watch the replay and see all those examples that you gave. And then, please send me a link to your PowerPoint, or just send me the PowerPoint and I can put it online. Yeah. And and I'll let you know if there are any other questions that come up. I'll reach out to you. And here's another, Nancy Drew. Thank you for providing so much value. Very appreciated. Okay. Cool. That's great. Thank you, Eden. Thank you very much. It was nice having you on the channel, and hopefully we can have you again maybe in a few months.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm glad I was here, and I'm glad that people found the talk interesting and helpful.
Yes. All right. Bye.
All right.
Talk to you
Thanks
later.
very much.
Thank you, guys. And I'll see you next week in another session. You will get the notifications via email and also on my LinkedIn.